All right, I'm here with Nick Joseph, academic interventionist in kindergarten, first and second grade, and we are gonna reflect on the lesson on short A consonant, vowel, consonant words. And my question for you, Nick, is basically when we think about breaking down the lesson, the first part of the lesson that I noticed was you had the alphabet written out on the whiteboard. You had a small group setting. There were 6 kids. And the first thing you did is you pointed to the alphabet, to each letter in turn, and then you had them sound out the words, the letters, A, B, C, D, etc. How did that approach that you did, the way you did it, how did that reflect sort of a change in your practice?
I would say that by approaching the process in this lesson of learning by breaking down each individual letter's sound was a way to more thoroughly review parts of the alphabet and aspects of the alphabet that we use in the lesson in a way that I wasn't able to do as deeply before or as thoroughly if I were just more broadly reviewing the alphabet or more broadly reviewing the lessons, the specific worksheets that we worked on.
So instead of going right into an activity, you had them just review the alphabet just by saying the alphabet, calling it out. So you pointed to the letter A, they said A, B, C, D, all the way to Z. How did that work as far as a way to sort of introduce the lesson or kind of prime the pump or get them warmed up for the lesson on short A?
I'd say that one thing it did is it was able to help them shift gears from going into the classroom and maybe not necessarily being 100% focused to being more in the mood and more in the disposition to learn and to apply themselves and to really stick with the learning and the lesson.
Okay, so it was kind of like a transition activity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you had not done that in the past. So
no.
Did you find that it was effective?
Yes, definitely.
How did you know it was effective?
Because I could tell the kids were paying attention and they were actually doing the work. When they don't do the work, it's evident to me that they're not engaged or that something's wrong. And so if they're productive, then to me that means they're doing a good job and that things are going well.
So they were participating
Yeah.
actively. So you had a higher level of engagement than just sort of starting off with, here's your sheet, get to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next part of that was you then, after doing the alphabet, you pointed to each letter of the alphabet and had them call out the sound. So you pointed to A and they had to say A, B, B, C, K.
Right.
What motivated you to do that? What change in your practice is reflected in that activity?
Well, part of it was kind of mirroring what we were learning in the general classroom, like with the small group within the classroom with the other kids, because we were definitely starting to incorporate learning the letter sounds more, and so that was just a way to better practice and consistently review those sounds that they're learning in the classroom.
So did you find that you're going through those two kind of transition activities, just the alphabet A to Z, and then the letter sound relationship at the beginning of each of your small group lessons?
Mm-hmm.
And do you find that, again, there's a high level of engagement?
Yeah. Yeah.
So everybody's participating?
Yeah.
Okay. So then at that point, you went into the main part of the lesson, which was the short A sound. And so the kids each had a sheet that had 10 CVC words. They all had the short vowel A. Cat, fat, vat, sat, mat, for example. And the first thing that I noticed was that you held the sheet up and had all the kids look at you, and before you even passed out their copy, you just held it up and you pointed to the words. You said the word, and then you had them repeat it. So you said cat. So you said, I say cat, you say cat, cat, and then you gestured and they said cat. Why did you do that? How did that reflect sort of a change or an evolution in the way you teach short vowel sounds?
Well, first off, a lot of those words, probably most of them, they don't know because they're still learning a lot of vocabulary words in English. And so that's one way to familiarize those kids with the individual words, and then to also help them hear the words in for the worksheet and like for the lesson, because um, typically when we're working on these types of worksheets, I will like say the word to help them try and figure it out. And so if they're able to like try and read the word at the very least, even if they don't know how to read, but like hear the word as well, that helps them more with the lesson. So
It helps them better understand the meaning of the word.
mm-hmm.
Okay. Because then the next thing I notice is that the sheet has 10 words that are in rectangular boxes, and then there are maybe 15 images. So there are more images than there are words.
Right.
So then after you went through the 10 words themselves, then you went back to the top of the list of words, and you said, all right, everybody, I'm going to point to the word, and then I'm going to point to the picture that matches the word. So then you would say cat, and then you'd point to a picture of a cat, and they had to say cat.
Mm.
How did that approach to kind of making sure there was a clear connection between the printed word and the image of what the word is? How did that reflect sort of an evolution in your thinking?
Honestly, I mean, it's just it's another way to strengthen that connection between the words and the images, and yeah, just doing that helps the kids, and I think it helps them better understand what they're looking at, even if they still can't read. It's important to further like not enforce, but like instill that kind of connection
by using perhaps the visual imagery,
yeah,
as opposed to just expecting them to learn the meaning of the word without any kind of image.
mm-hmm.
So then you did the first one together as an example. So did you find that doing the example with the kids together helps, as opposed to just throwing them right into having to match the word by coloring, because they had to choose a color with crayons
Mm-hmm.
or colored pencils, the word, and then color the image the same color. But you did one together as an example. How does that approach reflect sort of a need that you feel the kids have as far as figuring out what to do and how to do it?
I think it reinforces their decisions. Like if they're able to see someone do something similar to what they have to do in the lesson, then it makes them feel more assured in what they're doing. I remember learning during these times together in these lessons about the idea of I do, we do, you, or I do, yeah, I do, we do, you do, where the instructor exhibits the lesson or the worksheet or whatever it may be, and then transitions into doing some aspect of the activity with the kids, and then finally having the students do their own work. And so
Okay.
I found that to be very helpful.
So when you first did this, you didn't know how to do an approach like I do, we do, you do?
Not really. I hadn't really done any kind of lesson or presentation of the worksheet in like an organized or like kind of like calculated way. Like I was just kind of like thinking more, oh, I have this worksheet, I'm going to find a way to present it and somehow make it engaging, but I never thought about the process in which I would display the information, introduce the information, all of those things.
I got it. So then once they did the first one together as an example, then you kind of circulated and assisted. And I know that in spending time with you before, you have made a concerted effort to sort of really actively affirm kind of what the kids are doing and at the same time sort of check in and make sure that what they're doing is accurate. And that also has been a shift from sort of just staying in one place and kind of watching from a distance. What shift have you noticed as far as like the students' ability to accurately complete their work? What has changed when you use that approach, when you're circulating and assisting actively?
When I'm circulating and moving out and around, and not just staying in one area in the classroom, I think one thing it does is it forces the kids to stay engaged, because if I'm somewhere else, or like maybe sitting next to the whiteboard or in some kind of more disconnected area, then the kids are more easily going to do something off topic, or they feel more enabled to just kind of relax or like distract themselves with something. And so by moving around and staying engaged with the kids, I'm also able to work with multiple kids at the same time. Instead of having one kid that I call over to a corner of the classroom, again, kind of separating things, I'm able to help that person who maybe also might share a problem with another student as well. And so I think, yeah, it kind of reinforces like a community in the classroom, and discourages separation, or like kind of like a stagnant communication.
I get it. I also noticed that after the vast majority of the kids had completed or were close to completion, you would review all 10 words again, sort of as a concluding step in the lesson.
Right.
And how did you find that review went as far as the kids' ability to complete the work successfully? Did you find that sort of how many of the 6 kids, how many of them completed the task successfully?
I say that it depends, because sometimes we are short on time, and so we're not able to really effectively complete the lesson or the worksheet. But it seems that most of the time there's like an aha moment for all the kids, and they're able to complete just about all of the problems or the like activities on the worksheet. But I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
The question is, how many kids typically for that activity, out of the 6, how many of them completed it correctly?
I'd say like just about all of them, because when we're working together, and so we're kind of all able to learn from each other and learn together in a way that is effective and productive. I mean, sometimes the kids will feel like there's other students copying each other or copying off of them, but usually we're able to kind of shift from that idea or that perception, and just acknowledge that we're all learning together. And so that really helps things go by, and I think at the end too, make it feel more like there's no kind of judgment in terms of right or wrong questions. It's like, oh, we're just affirming what we've been learning at the end, or maybe slightly adjusting things, but not in a way that feels like penalizing or judgmental.
So the use of group work, as far as partners working together or working in teams of 3, you feel is is effective.
Yeah.
Do you have any other goals as far as new goals for approaching lessons like this where you have to teach new words, whether they're CVC words or a different pattern of words, but based on this whole protocol that we've just talked about, is there anything that you want to try differently or tweak in any way?
I really just want to find more ways to engage the kids, because when they're engaged, that's when I can do the most with learning and instilling new ideas and practices or techniques for whether it's math or reading or anything. It's just if I can engage them, I know that we can be productive and we can make a good time.
Okay,
in the
so would you like to
groups.
would you like to consider some possibilities for your next lesson as far as engaging kids? Would you like some suggestions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we can definitely work on that.
Mhm.
But thank you very much.
Mhm.